Welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show. Another exciting show. Definitely another exciting guest. Going all the way to Houston, Texas to talk with one of the young and inspiring DJs. That's crazy because I love DJing. I like music. I like the new turntables, all that kind of stuff. I love it. But more importantly, we're going to talk to a young lady who this is her motto. I can't always control what happens to me. That's deep for somebody to say that. And check this out. She's 23 years old. Let's welcome to the show, Delilah. How we doing, baby girl?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
23 years old, Chicago, Texas, 8 brothers and sisters.
Yep.
Wow. Tell me a little bit about who you are. Who actually is Delilah?
I'm happy to answer that question. Well, if I'm being honest, it's been a ever evolving journey of figuring out who I am. And I would have to say for some time, I have definitely grown a lot in many different ways. And the time that I really figured out myself was moving away from home. As I mentioned, I come from a big family. I had a lot of responsibility. I definitely was taking on a lot of different things. So I never really had the opportunity to really explore myself. And kind of tying this into my desire and dream of being a DJ, I've always had a love of music. I've always had a passion for it. But through a lot of self doubt, through a lot of limiting beliefs, I always push it to the side. But I always had it in me. I started playing guitar for some time. I took some music classes throughout school. And again, just completely left it. It was kind of like I would open the door, I'd close it, I'll open the door and close it all the time. So when I got down to Houston, moved here with my brother, that love of music came back again. So I think moving, starting my own journey, being an adult in this world definitely took away that fog I had in front of my eyes. And I decided to really figure out who I am as a person, which meant going back into music, evolving my mindset, sharing my journey with other people, connecting with like minded people. And it's still a continuous journey today. So if I could describe myself, Delilah, I am someone who is on a continuous journey of figuring out who I am, being curious, leaning into what seems interesting to me, and just being authentic along the way. So I can't give a clear answer on that, but it's a kind of an ongoing thing I'm working towards, I would say. But I feel like I'm getting more and more closer. And I feel like a big part of that is just again, kind of taking away a little bit of what's been blocked for many different years. So
So
I kind of a little bit.
let's go here. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Chicago. Why? What were you dealing with in Chicago that you couldn't get in Chicago that you had to go to Houston? You're 23 years old. Let's get real. Chicago is almost the gateway to the Midwest. We're in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. You're 3 hours away. But when you think about the Midwest, the first thing that comes to your mind outside of New York is Chicago. So,
Yeah.
what was it like for you growing up as a youngster in Chicago? What were you facing that made the journey difficult or made you say, this isn't where I want to be? I'm going to go somewhere else?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And it's something that I kind of even battled for a long time. I've gotten asked this question before by my parents, my friends, like, why do you want to move away? Why do you want to be 1,000 miles away from home? And I think this is a matter of how your environment directly impacts yourself as an individual. And going back to Chicago, I had a lot of hardships when it came to family, when it came to friendships, past relationships. And it was kind of a bad, I wouldn't say bad energy, it was just kind of old energy that I was surrounded with that really just bogged me down. And I am a very spiritual person, and I definitely do believe in being in the right environments can directly impact your energy as an individual. So being back at home, being the big sister, having to take care of everybody, being in the middle of altercations all the time, having to make things better, always having to take care of others. I never really had that opportunity to take care of myself. And I knew being back home with the same people, my same friends, same hometown, I wasn't going to be able to grow. I wasn't going to be able to really evolve in myself. And I needed to take a big step. So I'm sure you read some of my notes, but I went through a lot of different things, physical abuse, emotional abuse. I went through eating disorders. I went through really bad relationships. I lost great people in my life. And just a lot happened in that era. And Chicago is a beautiful city. There's a lot of opportunity out there. I just had this calling to be somewhere different, to start my own life in my own journey because I gave my own energy in life to other people. And I think it was time for me to really just take my life in my hands and start something new and fresh. And I don't know why I landed in Houston, but I would say it's definitely been a great change. So, yeah.
Let's go here. You have 8 brothers and sisters. Like, how, what's that task like to come from such a big family? We talked about your responsibility, but this is a two-part question. What was that like? How were they looked up? How did they look at you, knowing that now you're no longer there? But more importantly, Did you come from a household with both parents in the household?
So my mom got divorced when I was 9. So my real dad, I have not spoken to him for over a decade now. So I've always had two parents in the household. She did get remarried. So I have my stepdad. So we do have two parents in the household at this time.
Now, how difficult was it for your family to accept that you wanted to travel the road lease for you?
It was difficult for them because I was very much a yes woman for a very long time. And it took a lot of power in me to really have boundaries in myself because I was very much a people pleaser. Out of like in childhood, I had to be very like way more mature than I actually was at the time. Like I had high expectations from the adults in my life, especially being the oldest sister. So I really never had the opportunity to really be a kid, to be curious, to make mistakes. I didn't have that room. So I guess over time, I don't know what really happened, but I got out of a really bad relationship and it kind of awoken me to a lot of the things I'm not really doing for myself. I didn't have a lot of self respect for myself. And probably in the last year, I was really just starting to tell myself, like, okay, we need to start looking out for ourselves. We need to start saying no and not saying yes all the time. And when I decided to move away, I did not tell anybody about it. So when I broke the news to my parents, they definitely weren't happy about it, but it took them a little while to really understand why. And I would say they're now accepting of it, but originally they weren't. So the last month I was home was definitely a little bit difficult.
Were they brothers and sisters? Didn't you have an outlet to vent, to um, share what you was going through? I know you're just 23 years old, but with 8 siblings in the house, man, were there was there a confidant in that inner circle that you felt comfortable talking to, and did he or she, I don't know which one, understand
Mhm.
what you was going through, and what was their take on it?
I would say my brother, his name is Dylan, he's 18. He moved down here with me. So we weren't the closest, but he was probably the closest person that I would really open up to about how I was feeling about a lot of things. Sometimes I would go to my stepdad for certain things. Sometimes I would go to my mom, but I was never truly honest about how I felt to really anyone. So it was kind of me, myself, and I in a lot of ways. I did have good friends, I did have supportive people, but I think it was just a matter of getting people to understand me. And it's a little difficult at times to really put it into words how I'm feeling. So I
That's what I was going to say. So, how can they really truly understand what you're going with if you're not being fully transparent? Is it because you wasn't mature enough to understand what you were dealing with on your own?
no, I think it was the opposite. They weren't really, I'm not trying to out people in my life for this, but they weren't really understanding of me, I would say, because I guess the term the black sheep of the family, I was very much the one to kind of go against a lot of different things. Like I didn't go to college. I definitely was kind of on this own path. Like I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do this. I want to do that. But there's so many people in my life saying, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. You should be in this box because it's safe.
Mhm.
So I made a lot of decisions that I didn't want to make, but I did it because I wanted their validation. So that's why it was so hard for me to really open up to the people in my life because I'm like, they're not going to understand. They never supported me in the endeavors I wanted to go through.
Mhm.
And um, so that's why I kept things to myself. And there's so many projects I worked on. I tried starting businesses. I tried many different social media paths. I did a lot of things and I tried to share that with a lot of people and they just never really understood. And that's okay. I'm not here to bash on them or anything like that. Everyone has their own mindset and way of thinking when it comes to certain things. So I think it was just a matter of they didn't really understand where my mind is. And I think now they're kind of starting to understand, but that's kind of
You talked about a spiritual awakening, or that you're very spiritual. Did
yeah.
this journey happen during your transition in Chicago, or did it happen when you got to Houston?
It definitely it started in Chicago, I would say. It started in Chicago, but it didn't really start to take light until I got to Houston. I think the spiritual journey of how that started got me out of Chicago. It gave me the confidence, it gave me a lot more peace in myself because, again, like I didn't have many people around me that understood me. So I kind of did a lot of internal spiritual work, reflection, understanding myself, my traumas, my triggers, and really just set intentions for myself and really followed my intuition, which was Texas, moving away. That's what my calling was at the time. So when I got here, I probably spent like a month or two just really being to myself and understanding who I am as a person. You know, like anytime I get triggered, I ask myself, why do I feel this way? Why is this impacting me? Why do I have these beliefs about myself? Why am I doubting this? Like just ask, looking inward instead of outward because I feel like we're given so many challenges and traumas and things in our life. I was like, I don't want to be a victim to my past and pain. I want to take control of it and use it to empower myself to be a better person and help other people, which is what I'm trying to do for my friends, my family, through my content, because that's what I want to do ultimately. But it's an ongoing project, Project Delilah 2.0 is what I like to call it. So,
So, my question here is, as you're going through this remarkable beast mindset transformation here while you were in Chicago, what were the three most important revelations that you've seen take place? Because in order for you to get there, you had to see some type of involvement, some change within yourself. What were those three things? Were you able to control your triggers? What were what I might call, what were the signs, symbols, and tokens that you started to get during this transformation before you wind up going to Texas?
that is a good question. Wow. Um, I think those revelations really just started through actually seeing proof of the work that I was putting in through my mindset. Just kind of went backwards a little bit. I was raised religious. I was Christian, Catholic, went to church, never really connected with it. So when I kind of went against the grain a little bit and started implementing some practices to evolve my mindset, I would say some of the things that I was starting to see is, let me say, for instance, I guess I kind of set up these goals for myself that felt a little bit impossible for me and implemented some of the practices to get to that goal where I was starting to see proof of that concept. That's when I was like, okay, this is actually working. So, one of those being getting my job. I came from a background of working DoorDash restaurants and stuff, and I was able to get a really good job for myself, tech sales job. And I wrote on a piece of paper, this is exactly what I want my job to be. And with letting go, letting God take control of that, of the how and how it's going to work out, I got it within a month. So that was one thing that really just kind of, oh wow, like this is something real. Like this is what I believe in. And the second thing was probably from my last relationship. I think the people you meet in your life tend to be a mirror and reflection of who you are in a way. Speaking in spiritual terms, we tend to create the reality that we're experiencing every single day. So through this relationship, we were mirroring each other, so we triggered each other in many different ways.
Give
And I think
me
it
an
was,
example.
go ahead.
An example when you say you guys were triggering each other in many different ways.
So I had many different insecurities in myself, and she also had many different insecurities in herself. And I will do something that will get her mad, and then she would get mad, and then I would get upset and hurt. So it was kind of like oil and water. We just were constantly triggering each other and touching our wounds. Like I had a really hard time opening up about how I feel. Meanwhile, she was the opposite and hated that. So it was just kind of like our communications were very opposite and we mirrored each other's pain and insecurities in a lot of different ways. For her, it was different. For me, it was different. And it was kind of like an eye awakening moment for me.
Mhm.
Um, so, in a way, while it was painful, I was like, this is what I needed to really uncover the internal wounds and pains that I'm going through, which was setting boundaries, speaking up, being more understanding, and many different things. So I think it was kind of like a here's this relationship, it's gonna suck, but you have to learn from it. Again, going back to taking your pain and really just owning it. So I don't blame the person. I just hope that they're also learning and being a better person out of it. So I think when we set intentions of what we want to change in our life, God will give you things that may not be in your favor, but to help you learn about yourself and learn inward to use those challenges to be a better person. So that was probably like the second thing for me
Mhm.
was um I could think of a third thing, but I don't know. But those two things really just stand out to me. It's been an ever evolving thing. But that's a great question though. So
When these transformations usually take place,
mhm.
you find out unconsciously that the people that you thought had your best interests really didn't have your best interests, or should I call it the shaking the tree syndrome? What was
Yeah.
that moment like for you when you started to realize that the people that you thought was there for your developmental growth really were not? And then when you did find out, who was the biggest surprises that fell off of your tree prior to you going to Texas? Because the transformation or the casting of the mold for your situation actually was done in Chicago. So that means that the the veil is now being lifted to let you see, well, that person wasn't meant to be in my life. That person, oh, what, him?
Yeah.
So what was that like for you? Give me an example.
Man, that's a good question. I feel like there's many different examples, but I think what I will have to say is probably going back to that relationship in a way. Um, that was probably the most painful time for me. On top of that, my mom was going through a lot of health problems at the time. So I was handling multiple different stresses in my life. And I would say from the year like 2021 to 2023 was probably by far the most awakening time for me, like understanding like the truth behind a lot of different things. Because I was still growing up, I was still trying to understand life in itself, but I was realizing that the people around me are projecting a lot of pain to me and to others. People do that. You know, you have pain and you go through things and sometimes you don't know where to put it, so you put it on other people. So I think it was kind of like a moment of seeing my mom's pain, my stepdad's, my friends, my relationship, understanding that everyone is just hurt. We're all subconsciously unaware or unconsciously unaware of what we're even doing, that a lot of people don't have self-awareness of themselves. They don't have the awareness of how their actions are impacting others. So there's not like many one specific example. It's kind of been a combination of many different things throughout my life where I finally understood, okay, maybe I'm not a bad person. Maybe I'm not someone who is just making all these wrong choices. I think it's just everyone projecting their pain and limiting beliefs onto me. And that was, you know, partly from my mom, that was from my father, that was from my stepdad, my relationship, friends. So when I really started to awaken and understand them and where they were coming from, that's when I was like, okay, obviously I can't get rid of my family or anything like that. Like I was more understanding and empathetic of their story and things, but I did lose friends. I probably lost probably a few friends at the time. And I think it was a matter of like once I started to awaken and become more aware, friction started to occur because I was growing, I was changing.
Mhm.
So I'm not trying to say I was better than them. No one's better than each other. But I was becoming more aware of things and changing, and I wasn't doing the old habits I was doing. And my friends were like, oh, well, Delilah doesn't want to do this anymore. So we're not going to hang out. We're not going to really do anything anymore. Out. So, um, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm listening to your story. So let's go here. You got 50 states. You got the number one state in the world, Indianapolis, Indiana, which is 3 hours away. I don't know why you didn't just come there, but that's a whole different topic.
Okay.
Right? You know I gotta rep the 317. So my question here is: you got 50 states. You're not 23 at the time that you're getting ready to make this embarkment to a whole different territory. Where did Texas come in? Where did Texas come into the radar here?
That is a good question. Um, so it's kind of a silly thing, but before for the longest time I was really into fitness. I was definitely using that as my outlet to help my mental health, to my, I was overweight before, so I definitely was really into that fitness world. And there was this creator online that I watched. His name is Christian Guzman. He's the owner of Alpha Elite 3D and a couple other businesses. And he is someone I still look up to this day. He's an amazing influencer. And he lives in Houston. And he had a gym out here that I've always wanted to visit. So Houston was just always in my mind because I pictured Houston as this like Disneyland of fitness and health and all that stuff. Even though I never visited it, it was just something I put in my head. So I was like, why don't I just go to Houston? And when I moved down here, it was definitely with less than a month. I found an apartment and I'm like, okay, we're gonna do it. And the rent was cheaper. Illinois rent is obviously very expensive. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Good rent, cool city. I can go to that gym. I can find a fitness community down there maybe. Um, and yeah, that's really the story. It's not anything crazy. It's just I was influenced.
How did you convince your brother to go along with your journey?
He was also in a similar boat, even though we never really talked about it. Um, After he graduated high school, he was definitely not happy with where he was at, and we had a lot of like family altercation and problems that we were going through, and we were starting to talk about things, and we actually built this project together called Evolved, and we built a mini community through it. We posted content about mindset and just being a better individual, and we kind of had that little project together, which brought us closer together. And he started opening up to me about his pain, his, feeling lost, not being happy at home, needing a change. And I was like, well, why don't we move? And originally we were going to move and stay in Illinois, but we were like, it's probably not going to work. I feel like it's still going to be the same thing. So I mentioned Houston, I mentioned Texas, and originally he was like, I don't know about that. And then I was like, okay, that's totally fine. We can look somewhere else. And he came.
Other choices outside of Texas.
What's that?
What were your other choices outside of Texas?
Texas was really it for me. Or I was looking into Tennessee.
Okay.
So I have family down there, a lot of family actually. So that was also another thought to move down there as well.
Okay.
But he told me, he's like, I want to move. Let's do it. Like he was just like, let's just go for it. Like, what do we have to lose? Like, I got out of a relationship. He graduated high school. I have a new job lined up, and I said we could figure it out. Like I can hold rent until you find a job. And we were just kind of a team. So it happened very quickly though, I would say. So that was
Like that's crazy. I mean, you don't see people that just decide to just all of a sudden just get up, pack, and move. But at least you had a game plan. So you got an apartment, you had everything already mapped out. So when you got there, you had a place to live,
hmm
community. Your mindset was clearly shaping through all of the adversities that you went through.
hmm
Now that you look back at your life, the people that have fallen off, how do they look at you now? They probably don't even communicate with you.
No, no. There's a lot of people that I don't speak to anymore. They watch me.
Yeah,
No, they do,
yeah.
but engage with me. And I don't have any sort of grudges or any sort of hatred towards anybody. I don't. Even my last relationship, despite being hurt many different ways, I just see it as I'm moving on. And if you want to watch me, okay, because I post online, I post on social media, I speak my mind, my voice, and I definitely see that they're watching, but they don't bother to reach out or see how I'm doing, and that's okay.
You're
So
23 years old. You got the world in front of you.
yeah.
What message would you give to other young women or young individuals that may be stuck in a similar situation? I mean, we're definitely not telling you, hey, just go fly by your seat and go to freaking Texas. That's not being realistic. But being realistic, what kind of advice would you give someone who may have been going through the same situation that you have gone through, you and your brother?
hmm I would give this advice just like I give my brother because he's still kind of struggling with a lot of things, but I would say to look inward. Look inward. We are surrounded by so much distraction today with social media, with what I call artificial dopamine, alcohol, drugs, friends, sex, many different things to cover our pain. That if you want to push past that and to be a better person, to evolve into your next level, you need to start looking inward. And that's the hardest. Your working on yourself is going to be the hardest project ever, is what I will say. And developing your mindset is going to be really hard. And a lot of the things you have to do is to deconstruct a lot of the beliefs that were projected unconsciously throughout your life because it came from your parents, it came from your environment, it came from your friends. So if you really want to get out of that, you have to look inward, do the shadow work, ask yourself questions. Why am I feeling this way? Why do I believe I can't do that? Why do I think I'm worthless? Why am I hurting myself? Really just, and this can be through spirituality, seeing a therapist, journaling, um, just having a lot of self discovery. And I think a lot of people don't do that. They don't know who they are. They don't take the time to learn who they are. They think about validation. They think about, I need to be like this person to be successful, to be, so people can like me. When in really reality, everyone's journey is different. And I think God gave everyone their own path and their own personality and their own skills and their own dreams. That whatever it is you're desiring in your head,
Right.
that's that means something. That means lean into it. That means you have something in you where you can actually achieve that and hold that. Which is why I'm like, I I want to be a big artist someday. I want to have a dream to make music, create community. I have a lot of different things that I write down. I'm like, okay, well, who do I need to be to get there? I can't get there out of desperation. I can't get there when I'm not willing to get up and post content and practice every day. I have to set intentions, work inward, change my beliefs, because ultimately that's going to trigger the snowball effect of your energy is going to start to change, your emotions are going to start to change, your beliefs are going to change, and then that's when you're going to feel more inclined to want to do things for yourself, to be a better person, to think differently. But that starts with working at the core of yourself, which is your mind, your limiting beliefs, and it's hard work. It's I didn't like doing it. I had to come to a lot of hard truths myself, and I'm still working on it today. But I think
Yeah.
of the term, I always like to say this anytime I'm triggered. I like to clock myself. Like if I'm feeling anxious, if I'm feeling, oh, I can't do that, I clock myself and I'm like, wait, why are we saying that?
Yeah.
And then really just try to understand the why behind things. And it takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of work, but you just have to start looking inward and figure out who you are.
You definitely have a lot of knowledge for 23 years old and a lot of self reflection. And I think a lot of people have a difficult time looking at themselves. And that's the biggest thing in the world is looking in that mirror and asking yourself those same tough questions and more importantly, being prepared for the outcome because you have to answer those questions
Yeah.
to yourself. Now, let's on a lighter note before we end.
Mhm.
Getting ready to embark on a DJ career. You already did your first gig. What was that like?
Amazing. Amazing. Oh my goodness. I think it really lit a fire in me. It really just told me why I love this. And music brings people together.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that I was able to get people to dance, to smile, to bob their head a little bit, and just kind of set the atmosphere, that was huge for me because I feel like music brings people together just like food does or sports or something. But it was a beautiful experience, and I wasn't by no means amazing, but I got a lot of compliments from other people saying, I could tell you really love this. And I was like, I do. I really, really do. And I was very nervous, but after the first 5 minutes, I felt in my element. It was just amazing.
Now, how did you set the stage? How did you move the crowd when you walked in? This is your first gig. Take me down that road. Like you're setting up, you're looking at everybody up on that DJ stand. Like, how did you know how to set the mood? And what did you set the mood to be?
That is a good question, and that's the art of being a DJ, is knowing how to set the mood by reading the room. So I did a little bit of homework beforehand, and this was a DJ academy, and there was going to be other producers, other musicians, other DJs. So I had a little bit of pressure on me, but I was like, I can't let that get over me. But I looked at the time of day, I looked at the age ranges, I looked at, you know, how do how would I want to feel walking into this event? So I kind of combined all of that together, and I created this like set list of old classics, modern stuff, groove, threw in some disco house, pop music, house music, just a welcoming, warm feeling where you just want to move a little bit, but you also have the energy to actually conversate with people, or because the music can be a little bit too intense sometimes. So that was kind of my mindset process around it. um, I did prepare something for 30 minutes, but then I had to perform for another half hour. So I was freestyling for the rest of it, which was a little nerve wracking, but I think so. Kind of reading the room, reading the crowd. How are they reacting to this music? Are they actually, is their bodies moving? Because you have to look at their body, not their faces necessarily, the body. If you see them moving a little bit, then I'm like, okay, I have something going here. So, yeah.
What did you take away from that experience? Because even being when I was competing in bodybuilding, it was always crucial for me to get feedback from the judges, whether it was good, bad, or whatever. It can only elevate me. So, what were some of the things that, not the good things they said, but what were some of the things they said you needed to hone in on to really take it to the next level?
That is a good question. Um, so I didn't get really any direct feedback like that. I think looking back at myself and the videos, because my brother had recorded the whole thing. So it was kind of more of a self reflection and I was self grading myself because no one really came up to me and said, well, you have to do this better, or try this, try that. So I think looking back at it, I learned a lot from that experience, and basically taught me that I need to be better about like doing things on the fly, being better at freestyling, knowing the next track to pick, because I was definitely under pressure. Like, okay, I don't know what to play next. My music library is not organized the way it needs to be. So I took a lot of the hardships I dealt with for that set, and I was like, okay, next time I'm gonna make sure I have better music crates. My music is more organized. I need to practice a little bit more. My transitions weren't that clean because I was listening to my mix and I was like, ooh, that's really not great. But people don't notice it that much
Yeah.
because they're drinking, conversating. But I think it's important to have like that self grading moment. Okay, it was fun, but what could we have done better? Because there's always room to improve. Um, but yeah, I didn't get any negative feedback from anybody, which was very nice. I'm sure maybe they had thoughts they didn't want to tell me, but
Right.
I should have asked probably. But
Yeah.
I think documenting and recording was definitely very helpful to kind of pick around, like, okay, what didn't work, what worked, did this flow well? Um, so have a lot to work on for sure.
So,
To
so first of all, let me say thank you for coming on and sharing a beast mindset story. And I wish you and your brother nothing but continuous success in anything that you touch from here forward. That's my wish to you both. Now, my question here is what's next for you?
What's next for me? Wow, I would say really just continuing on with my self development journey, sharing my journey online to people, how music is going, learning every single day. Really just, I'm in a really good flow right now. I have a good momentum right now with the work I'm putting through. So I think just kind of leaning into learning new things, learning about myself, continuing to evolve through my art, my craft with music, content, um, connecting with more people, I would say, because I'm quite introverted. So I'm like, I need to put myself out there more and actually get out the camera and actually put myself in the world a bit more and just share my mindset, share what it means to be Liora, which is my artist name. That's the artist I'm trying to build. Um, and just continue to work at it, honestly, and just grab any opportunity I can get to practice, to be better, to share and connect with others. So I think it's just continuing this momentum for now.
Excellent. How can the viewers reach out to you and follow you on this extraordinary journey?
What was that? Sorry.
How can the viewers reach out to you and follow you on this extraordinary journey that you're going down?
Yes. So you can follow me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, SoundCloud. I would say those are probably the few you can follow me on. It's at Liora Music. It's Liora Music, all the same tag. You can follow me and connect with me there. Anyone who reaches out to me, 99% of the time, I do reach back out and connect. I love talking to people. I love learning from people. So if you want to have a chat, I'm always open to it.
Sounds like a winner. Thank you so much, Delilah, for coming on the show and once again sharing that beast mindset. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, share, follow. Click that button. All it takes is one click to make a difference in your life or change somebody else's. This has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show.